I was teaching myself, what was I teaching myself? Or do we already know this, Barry?
Is it hardwired into us, you mean?
Yes. Is a non-physical body second nature to us?
Well, I think that, the way you describe it, I've had it described by people who've gone into the other world and people I've talked to in the world of spirit. So it's a kind of correlation between leaving the body and going into the world of spirit. You left the body, perhaps, from this description, and went into a different reality, which is tantamount to the same thing, I guess.
Yes, well, I can only assume through technology I was extracted from my physical body.
Yep.
Because the realm that I was then in was now in relating to where we are now, non-physical. And this is the biggest step that you need to take in your mind, is that in a lot of extraterrestrial interactions into the non-physical realms, and this would account, of course, for why a lot of spacecraft are not seen in our atmosphere.
Yeah, that's true.
There's probably, as I look out the window, there's probably half a dozen in the sky somewhere now that I would never see, and this seems to be the case. And we've got, and of course, our governments and military have got so much more sophisticated technology now, and they can actually pick these things up, which of course do 50 years ago. So.
Now, just before we get into your adventures, which were absolutely wonderful and chronicled so well in your book Coevolution, just before we get into that, when you then came back at the end of all this, did you feel as if you were zipping back into a physical form, or was there a big change in this? How did that all happen?
Pretty seamless technology, I have to say, Barry. I did bring back some memories of perhaps being given a body that would work in the situation I was in when I was interacting off planet, and I did have a vague memory of being given a body back again for the Earth end of the story, basically going back into my own physical body. I do have vague snatches of memory of that, but I was told at the time that the technology that was being used isn't sort of conducive with the memory of it. It's way beyond my capabilities of even explaining.
Yeah.
So yes, at the end of it, I seamlessly seemed to move back into my own physical body. I can only assume then that perhaps my own physical body either didn't go on this trip, or if it did, it was in storage.
Yes, I was going to ask you, did you have any thoughts or concepts or any answers as to what happened to your body during this time? Because it was about 10 days, wasn't it?
Yes, well, I can only, as you alluded at the beginning to the car going with me, I'm sure the car wasn't just left on the side of the road.
I'm sure it wasn't, otherwise it would have attracted
attention. 10 days, the police would have probably come and towed it away as a derelict or something, I don't know.
Yeah.
Because I assumed at this stage that I'd crashed, but I don't think that happened either. But so, no, I guess I just don't know how my body and car travelled, whether that was in storage.
Whether that was there or not. But at the end of it all, you came back again, and the way you sort of were able to see that you were still wearing the same clothes, weren't you? And nothing had been changed. That was quite a strange little episode of what you came back to.
Exactly as I had left it. Exactly as I had remembered leaving Rotorua for that 3-hour drive. It's only a couple of 100 kilometres from Rotorua to Auckland, which I was doing at the time. And and when I arrived in Auckland, I didn't really have a memory of anything untoward happening at all, except that I did feel strangely disorientated. But there were, as the book explains, some other extenuating circumstances there.
Sure.
But notwithstanding that, I did feel pretty weird, I can tell you, and also afterwards I couldn't relate left to right. Just physically being back in a body, I couldn't orientate myself properly. I felt like I was getting lost in Auckland City, and I'd been in the city for 40 years, growing up there, and yet I kept getting lost when I was driving around the street, so I was definitely disorientated. So there was some getting used to that again.
Yeah.
Sure.
Since then, How do you react if people say to you, oh, look, you probably made all this up, you went and parked the car for 10 days somewhere and came back with a nice story to write a book? Have you had that?
Yes, I wish it was that simple. Writing books was the last thing on my mind, and it actually took, how many years? Probably 8 years before I actually wrote the story up in a form that could be published. So It wasn't the first thing on my mind, I need an experience so I can write a book. Normally wait 8 years to do that, and even then I thought, no one's going to believe me, and I didn't really even want to write it at all.
Yeah.
But whatever caused the experience in the first place also almost forced me to write the book. I wrote out a draft and put it away, and something just kept me going back to it and wouldn't let me leave it alone. But of course, I suppose we should get on to what actually happened in the physical reality.
We should indeed. Let's take a break here at the moment on radio out there. And my guest is Alec Newald, and we'll be back in just a few minutes' time to talk about Alec's adventures out of body. You're listening to Radio Out There. Some of the music of David Sandercock, a musical journey called The Phoenix Trilogy, based on the book, or inspired by the book, The Phoenix Trilogy, Reconciliation Has Begun. I just noticed that. For some reason I just chose this music as being the right kind of music to go with a chat with Alex, and then I see that it's based on Reconciliation Has Begun. Oh, is that a little synchronicity? Yeah. To Alec in just a moment. Just a word about Joshua Books at the moment, though. Have you visited their website lately? joshuabooks.com. A whole host of books. If you really are into every aspect of the esoteric, the metaphysical, Joshua Books is the website for you. Whether it's some of the books of David Icke, when we really go out there with David Icke, or whether you go back to Radiant Healing, a wonderful healing book from Isabel Bellamy and Donald McLean, The Many Paths to Personal Harmony and Planetary Wholeness. And that seems to be the message that's coming across from so many of the people who are visiting our planet. They would really encourage us to get back to planetary wholeness. Well, this is a book where you can find out how to get back yourself, and I guess every great journey starts with the self, doesn't it? Radiant Healing, just one of the other wonderful books on the Joshua Books website. All the books of Tony Bushby, of course, Ian Ross Bayro, They Lied to Us in Sunday School, Marie Moore's books, Masters of the Mystical Rose, and many, many more. It's a great website, and there's a very interesting newsletter that comes out every now and then. If you, there's a new one just come out about a week or so back, so if you'd like to get on and sign up for the newsletter, it's certainly no obligation, there's no hard sell or anything like that. Some good, fascinating information on that, though. JoshuaBooks.com, that's the website to go for. Have a little look and see just exactly what you might find of interest to read, and there's just so much there. And if you get the newsletter, they also let you know when the latest releases are coming up, so you get in a little bit early. And that is I should say Joshua Books. JoshuaBooks.com. This is Radio Out There. I'm getting myself confused. No. I'm Radio Out There. They are Joshua Books. Right, I'm glad we got that one sorted out. All that music it was sending me, way out there into space. I think we better just